Welcome to Monster Territory, ladies and gentlemen. Thank goodness it is Friday, but I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, things are moving a little slow right now. It's feeling a little cold, and I mean, hey, perfect timing. I guess up north, all of you are going to be getting, I guess, the worst snowstorm of all time. I don't know if that's exactly the right description, but I don't know. Hopefully everyone is good to go for the weekend. But hey, we got the Patriots coming up in the AFC Championship game, so we got some stuff. But we're still waiting for the Red Sox to make that final move. We need one more move to really complete this roster. Maybe a couple, but we need one more big move. You got to figure out the replacement for Alex Bregman. There's been a lot of talk lately with the Astros. You've been hearing them popping up, possibly for someone like Duran and even Wilyer Abreu is starting to get into the picture a little bit. We got a report from Chandler Rome, also with the Foul Territory Network, with the Crush City Territory over there talking about the Astros. Chandler Rome does a great job. He gave us a little report, a little juicy tidbit. Well, I don't want to say a report, more so speculation, but because he's so dialed in, you kind of wonder if maybe there was a bit more to that. We'll play the clip here in a little bit, but we also got a report on Duran, big update on him, and we got a little something. No rumors necessarily, but we got an update with MLB Pipeline's top 100 prospects, and we're going to go take a look at that together. We're going to go react to that together, and hey, we're always excited about the prospects. And the Red Sox farm system has been looking great over the last couple of years. I mean, hey, look at all the trades they've been able to get done, right? You go back to Garrett Crochet, someone like Kyle Teal with that package of prospects you gave up for him. Nice to see the Red Sox farm system in good shape. And it looks like it is still in very good shape. I believe 4 top 100 prospects on there. Is it 3 or 4? Can't fully remember. But we'll go take a look at that. And also, Mailbag here for tonight. We had a few questions, a few comments over on the post on X that I put this morning. I have already, we are closed for the Mailbag questions, but if you want to get in, drop a super chat in the chat and get in on tonight's show. But everybody, let's get to it here. If you can, if you're with me live on YouTube right now, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. Also, thank you to Brendan over at Engine 33, Ladder 15 over on Boylston in the Back Bay. Hooked me up with this shirt. I love you, my friend. Thank you for that. Great shirt. Awesome shirts they got over there. But let's take a look here. Let's dive in. And we got a little something here on Duran. And listen, when it comes to Duran, hold on, where's my button? I'm missing the button. There's the button. With Duran, we've been hearing some little tidbits popping up. Could he be involved in some kind of a deal to acquire Isaac Paredes? If you think about it logistically, it could make sense, right? The Astros, they could use an upgrade in the outfield. The Red Sox obviously need to find an upgrade within the infield and also a replacement for Alex Bregman, right? So Isaac Paredes, he checks off the boxes. Maybe not so much defensively. I think you could, maybe get some league average defense out of him. I think long-term first base is going to be a better home for him. But I think he could get the job done at third base for the time being if you were to go that route. The problem with the Duran for Isaac Paredes trade is Duran simply has more value. He's got 3 years of control left, pretty cheap arbitration salary. Starting to get up there a little bit, but still I would say on the cheaper side. Obviously the track record over the last couple of years, Duran, one of the better players in the game. Sure, we've mentioned this obviously. A bit of a downtick in the numbers this past year, but overall Duran, still a very productive offensive player. Defensively, there's some question marks. But with the Astros, I think they would take that because they could use an upgrade in the outfield over there. Now, we got this report, though, from Will Kunkel. Now, he is with the Houston media. He was with Fox a little bit ago. Not quite sure what he's up to these days, but, if you take a look at the pictures here, right? He is at the Astros game. He is doing work. He is with the media. So I'd like to think he's a little dialed in. I think that's fair to say. But he put here, the Houston Astros are not in trade talks for Red Sox outfielder Duran per source. Now, that's interesting because you're like, okay, well, my first thought when I saw that, if that is indeed true, where, okay, well, maybe they could do something else for Paredes. But if you're thinking about it from the Astros' point of view, they're in a competitive window here. Yes, they got a bit of a logjam in their own infield. That's something else I forgot to mention, right? They got a lot of guys in the fold there. So, Paredes, Christian Walker, I think one of those guys could get moved, right? To kind of create a bit more harmony in the infield there. But again, with the outfield, they could use something out there. So that's why you think about a trade. It makes sense to do, someone like Jarren Duran. But if they're not in trade talks for Duran, well, could there be someone else possibly? And we got a little something here on Wilyer Abreu. Again, Chandler Rome, he is with Crush City Territory here with the Foul Territory Network. He does great work. He put this. Let me actually zoom out a little bit. I apologize. That is not. Why is this not working? I don't know what's going on. Hold on a second. Let's move that over. All right, here we go.
What the Astros are intrigued by from the Red Sox is their surplus of young outfielders. I know we talked about Jarren Duran here. I think Jarren Duran, certainly on paper profiles what the Astros would need. I would also offer you Wilyer Abreu. Wilyer Abreu is somebody that they know a lot better than Jarren Duran. Wilyer Abreu is also not making any money. He's making basically the league minimum. He is not in arbitration yet. Jarren Duran is making about $7 million this year. Wilyer Abreu has won a Gold Glove before in right field. He is better defensively than Jarren Duran. Jarren Duran's probably got a little higher offensive floor. Wilyer Abreu is a younger player with more control. I would offer you Wilyer Abreu as somebody that maybe intrigues them a little bit more.
So that's interesting. Again, he's not fully coming out and saying, the Astros, they are dialed in on Wilyer. They're going gung-ho for Wilyer. But he's suggesting it a little bit. He is dialed in when it comes to the Astros. He has definitely got some sources out there. Wouldn't be surprised at all if he's been told by a couple of different people that there could be some interest in Wilyer. Now, and really thinking about it, I could see that being true. Now, obviously with Duran, he's been a very productive player over the last couple of years, but you wonder, it's interesting when you compare Duran and Wilyer, right? Duran, obviously, defensively, there are question marks there. I think center field is a better home for him personally. But if you look at Wilyer, obviously, Gold Glove right fielder, and he's got more power upside. So, that's where I wonder if, the Red Sox would actually want to deal him. Another couple of things here. Wilyer has another year of control. So, yeah, I could see a team like the Astros being more intrigued with that. And one more thing, remember where Wilyer Abreu came from. He came from the Astros in the Christian Vasquez trade back in 2022. So, there's familiarity there. There's more control. There is more power upside there. And he's a Gold Glove right fielder. So, yeah, it's not any sort of a question mark why the Astros would be, perhaps more interested in Wilyer. No surprise, in my personal opinion. Duran, he's like this enigma of a player where he's electric. Like, he can give you all the extra base hits, the speed, a little bit of pop here and there. He can give you that athleticism. But then there's, little things that come up with him. You see a bad play in the outfield, a little too often to your liking, inconsistent at the plate this past year. Batting leadoff, he had his struggles. Batting third did better, but you would like a bit more consistency out of Duran. And with Wilyer, that's where I could see a team being more intrigued with the upside with him, with what he could bring to the table. He's going to be, turning 27 in about 6 months, so still very young here. I'm not surprised if the Astros would be more interested in him. Now, the question is, would the Red Sox actually move him? That's where I get a little skeptical. Now, if you were to do some kind of a trade here, if we were to pull up the good old trade machine here on Baseball Trade Values. Now, as you can see, we've looked at a couple of different trades here on BTV quite a bit. And Wilyer is going to have less value than Duran at this point. Remember, the values are dynamic. They update them every week on baseball trade values. Wilyer is going to have less as of right now, and that's because Duran just has more of a track record over the last couple of years. Wilyer does have the extra year of control. Like I said, he is cheaper, but he still needs to show a bit more offensively. That's why the Red Sox have said, all right, we got to let him loose a little bit more against left-handed pitching this coming year. So, Wilyer still has very good value. I'm not saying it's low. It's just lower than Duran. So, you wonder from the Red Sox point of view, it's going to be interesting if they actually go this route. Because you could argue here that, is balance a bit more important here, right? Because you obviously have a lot of outfielders in the mix, right? Plus Masataka Yoshida. I mean, at this point, I don't know how Yoshida even gets into the mix. But that's a different conversation for a different day. So we all know they've had this, surplus of outfielders for a while. But, now you need someone to go either at second base or third base. So you kind of wonder here if maybe the Red Sox look at Wilyer, and it would sting to trade him, but would it end up helping balance this roster a little bit more? I don't know if they do it. I really don't. I'm very skeptical about that. I will say this, just like Duran, if Paredes is the guy that comes back in this kind of a trade, well, like with Duran, you're going to have to give a lot more than just Paredes, right? You got a lot more value to make up there. I wouldn't be surprised to see either Duran Abreu or Brian King coming back in a deal. Abreu would only have 1 year of control, but one of the top relievers in the game, while Brian King is a lefty. The Red Sox have been looking for lefties in the bullpen. They're in the market still. So, in this kind of a trade, you could kill a couple of birds with one stone. Now, granted, that would be one giant stone with Wilyer Abreu. We all love Wilyer, right? Dirt dog kind of a player. But you kind of wonder, could Wilyer here, same thing with Duran, be used to fill a couple of different holes on the roster? It's going to be interesting if they go this route. Now, again, getting back to the values of Abreu and Duran, because Abreu has less than Duran, we've been hearing about this with the Red Sox and Duran all offseason. They're putting him at a high price, and they should be, because he's been very productive over the last couple of years. He's been a top 15 player in Fangraph WAR over the last couple of years. So they should keep him at a high price, especially with the amount of control that he has. Wilyer, on the other hand, hasn't fully proven that yes, he is an everyday outfielder. Yes, I believe he is an everyday right fielder, but he still hasn't fully shown that he can be productive against lefties. He did show a bit of an improvement this past year. The numbers did go up a little. But there has been that skepticism, at least in my opinion, from the Red Sox point of view, about fully, letting him go. But again, we had gotten the report that we heard Core talking about it, saying, they would like to give him that opportunity. So you just wonder, I don't know. It's interesting if they go this route. Again, he would have less value than Duran. So for the Astros point of view, they wouldn't have to give up as much. Still have to give up a lot, but not as much as they would for Duran. So that's where I wonder if it is realistic, right? So that's why if you did Paredes, let's just throw in Duran and Abreu. He's the sexy name here. We would all love someone like Duran and Abreu. And, when you put those two guys together, if you're with me live here on YouTube, then you could see you're about $10 million apart. And the Astros have guys, they could send back. Again, Craig Breslow, he loves his pitching. Could you see someone like a Ryan Furkushi, even like Spencer Arrighetti? I don't know about Arrighetti. He's, his clock has already started, but could you get me, like a pitching prospect or something like that? I don't know. I mean, they've been trying to collect catchers like Infinity Stones, even someone like a Walker Yannick, So, let me just throw in Yannick just to for numbers' sake. You kind of look at that and you think, all right, you might be pretty close here. Paredes, Abreu, or Brian King, and a prospect like Walker Yannick. Maybe you could even do someone like a Kevin Alvarez, who's very far away, but with a lot of upside. So, I don't know, man. It'll be interesting. My guess here is the Red Sox won't do this. I would like to think I would be I'd be upset if Wilyer got moved. I really would. I like Wilyer Abreu a lot. In a way, reminds me of Trot Nixon a little bit. He's like just a hard-nosed player, high energy kind of a player, a guy that just gets dirty out there. He can hit some bombs. In a way, reminds me of Trot. Not fully, but sorta, in a way. I don't know if that's a good comparison, but that's at least what it makes me think of. So, we'll see on this. Keep your eyes out. But my sense, seeing that, Duran, he was a hot name that was coming up earlier in the week, and now you're hearing Wilyer possibly. I think the happy medium here with trying to figure out with what's going on is they're talking. There's different possibilities on the table. We'll see. We've talked about, multiple other options. And, this is where I'll get back to Matt Shaw. You got Nico Hoerner as well. Obviously, the Cubs, they have a very interesting situation over there. My personal thinking is, I don't know, I feel like they end up hanging on to both of Hoerner and Shaw. They let Shaw kind of move around a little bit. They get ABs. He gets ABs where he can. They can use that DH spot a little bit. I know they got Moises Ballesteros over there. But you could use Shaw in a role where he's moving around, maybe even playing a little bit of outfield. Because with Hoerner, the problem with Hoerner is he only has 1 year left before he hits free agency. I don't know. Would the Red Sox want to go that route? One possibility I thought of maybe why Hoerner could be more realistic than we think, this is just speculation on my part, is you do have someone like Franklin Arias and Mikey Romero coming up the pipe here, right? Also, Mikey Romero getting a spring training invite, non-roster invite. Congrats to Mikey Romero. Got a few guys there. But you do have a couple of middle infielders, so you wonder if maybe the Red Sox, you could at least justify getting Hoerner for a year, and if he ends up going elsewhere, well, then you got a couple other guys that are coming up the pipe that could end up taking over at some point, right? And obviously Christian Campbell. So that's why I wonder if Hoerner could be a possibility. Again, you'd have to go into it knowing it's 1 year, unless you could do an extension. I don't know. But the problem there, on the Cubs' point of view, he was very good last year. I don't know if the Cubs would want to give him up, man. So good defensively, high contact guy, gets on base, got a lot of speed. Listen, Roman Anthony and Nico Hoerner going 1-2 in the lineup. Listen, I'd like that. I mean, you are lacking a bit of power in that lineup at that point. But listen, if you're looking for a guy that's going to give you good defense at second base, and then you put Marcelo Meyer over at third, I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, any ball that's going on the ground there, good chance a lot of balls aren't going out of the infield, right? Good chance a lot of those plays are getting made, especially with Wilson Contreras at first base. So I do see Nico Hoerner, even though he only has 1 year left, maybe being a bit more realistic than we think. But then you could look at, Matt Shaw, right? From the Cubs' point of view, listen, I would not blame them at all if they preferred Nico at all. Well, I mean, obviously he's very good. Matt Shaw, on the other hand, has a ton of upside. You'd like to see a bit more floor, but there is that upside there. And, I made a post here on X over the last couple of days showing that at the major league level this past year, he pulled the ball very well. Not so much in the minors. Kind of funny how he had a much better pull air percentage at the major league level, not so much in the minors. But in the minors, he had good batted ball profile. He's good defensively. He's athletic. And the Red Sox were connected with him in the 2023 draft. The Cubs had the pick right ahead of the Red Sox The Red Sox ended up taking Kyle Teal. And there are people in the scouting department with the Red Sox that are still there, and they were there in 2023. So I've also been told personally, like I've had someone tell me this behind the scenes, the Red Sox do like Matt Shaw. I don't know how much they like him. I was told they like him. That's all I can really get. That's all I was told, right? That they like him. How much, though? Do they like him enough to give up Connolly early? Well, I don't know about that. So keep your eyes out for the Cubs. In the end, they don't have to do anything, really, in my full opinion. But we'll see. I've also seen a couple other options. We'll get to that in the mailbag segment here in just a little bit. But either way, there's chatter out there for the Red Sox. There's stuff going on. We've gotten reports even from Heyman. Multiple people out there are putting out reports that the Red Sox are looking to add to this infield. And they should. It's very obvious. You need someone. And one final thing I'll say on that. I do find it intriguing that, we got a report from Jen McCaffrey not too long ago that the Red Sox prefer Marcelo Meyer at third base. I'll leave it at that. That's where I wonder if they're not able to come up with something for Paredes, could they get aggressive with the Cubs? Got a couple other options here. I'll talk about them. They happen to be in the mailbag. But I'll leave it at that. Now, let's get to the MLB Pipeline Top 100. We got an update here. I believe they updated this today, or was it yesterday? Can't fully remember. But we got a little something here. We got something. We got some fun prospects to talk about. And in the updated Top 100 prospects, coming in at number, hold on a second, this is not cooperating. At number 19, well, I'll go backwards. At number 84, we got Kyson Witherspoon. I'll say this. Kyson Witherspoon, I'm not going to be surprised at all if you see him at some point this year. Very advanced coming out of the draft. He's already added a sweeper this offseason, or at the very least, he's working on one. That's a guy where, he's got good velo, he's got good cut action. I could see him moving through the minor leagues pretty quick. He was very successful at Oklahoma. Just a guy that's pretty advanced for his age. A bit of a herky-jerky delivery, but he really makes it work. Look out for Kyson Witherspoon this year. Not surprised at all to see him in the top 100. Coming in at number 56, we got Connolly Early. Obviously, we all know Connolly Early. He looked fantastic, getting a lot of swing and miss. I would imagine over the course of a full season, those numbers, that strikeout to walk ratio, which was, 13 strikeouts per 9 compared to under 2 walks per 9. I imagine that is going to come back down to earth a little bit. With a guy, with all the breaking stuff that he's got, with the good life on the fastball that he has, I would imagine, guys are just having a hard time picking him up. But once they start getting a bit more scouting on him, start seeing him a little bit more, I would imagine he's going to start running into some bumps. But Connolly Early, I think that's a good spot for him, number 56 overall. And obviously pitching in the postseason. Connolly Early, we love that. I think it's arguable that you could put him in the top 50 just because of the fact that he was even pitching in the postseason, starting at Yankee Stadium. I mean, obviously, you got to have some talent to be able to get the ball there. So I think it's fair to put him in the top 50, possibly. Number 31, we got Franklin Arias. And again, getting back to what I just said here about Horner, if you went for more of like a guy with 1 year of control, maybe even a couple years, someone like Brendan Donovan, that's why, Franklin Arias could be an interesting guy at some point, right? If you're looking at here, the scouting grades, he's got a 60 hit, not a whole lot of power with him, a 40 on the power, but he's very athletic, moves in the field. He doesn't have a ton of, they only give him a 40 run grade on here. It's interesting because, he had 35 stolen bases back in 2024, but as he started going up higher in the minors, the stolen bases started coming down a little bit. But regardless, he moves very well in the field. He's got a 60 on the field. I mean, this is a guy that could be an everyday shortstop. So could you see a situation where, but also doesn't even have to just be at second base. I'm talking about Horner, I'm talking about, Donovan. But Trevor Story is going to be a free agent in a couple of years. Could you see a situation where Marcelo Meyer is your everyday third baseman, and then Franklin Arias could possibly take the reins? Could you see a situation where, you have an infield in the next, I don't know about Christian Campbell, but, maybe even Mikey Romero takes a step forward this year, and he could be your second baseman at some point, I don't know. But Franklin Arias, he is a guy, gets a ton of bat on the ball, good batting average over the last couple of years. Went down a little bit this past year. The on-base went down a little bit as well. Overall, offensively, the numbers did take a bit of a downtick, but he doesn't really strike out very much. 53 strikeouts this past year compared to 38 walks. So Franklin Arias, look out for him. Gets a lot of contact, doesn't really strike out all that much. We'll see. We will see. And at number 19, we got Peyton Tolley. And obviously, no surprise, to see him that high. The big question mark is, what is the changeup going to look like? What are the secondaries going to look like? He's been pounding them this offseason. That guy is an absolute he's a freak this offseason. He's just going at it. He's working in the lab quite a bit. I just saw a video of him not too long ago where he was yelling frick like a million times because he was just throwing changeup after changeup after changeup and breaking ball after breaking ball. He's out there working, man. He's determined. He's motivated. I'm very excited for Peyton Tolley. I do agree he should be in the top 20. Yeah, he got knocked around a little bit. Arizona, obviously, that was the one where he got rocked, right? And that really showed what he needed to work on. He's been working on it. Very excited. Peyton Tolley, I do see him working into the mix in a big way this coming year. We will see. But what I also like, though, is that the Red Sox have so much depth to where they don't need to rush him. He can just work on his stuff. He can work on the off-speed, the secondaries. That's what I like about it. But yeah, I agree. Top 20 for Peyton Tolley. Maybe not so much top 10 because you would like to see more of the secondaries, obviously, at this point. I think if he takes a step forward there, if they do another update in the next few months and he's still in the minors, then yeah, I could see him being top 10. So we will see on that. But we got some mailbag to get to here. And again, if you want to get in on the action, we've already closed up shop for submissions with the mailbag. So if you want to get in, drop a super chat down below. Let's get to it here. So we got some voicemails, actually. We're going to play some voicemails. I actually opened up the phone lines again. Be on the lookout for that. Anytime I post something, especially for the post games this coming year. Again, we'll be doing the post games every night. So we'll have the phone lines open. So if you got a question or a thought, feel free to call in. But I did open them back up here today. We got a couple of calls. Let's see what we got. We got here from Jack from Burlington, Massachusetts. Jack, what do you got for me?
Robbie, what's up, man? This is Jack from Burlington, Massachusetts. Wanted your take on Christian Campbell and possibly being a part of the outfield mix this season. He looked good out there last year. Just curious as to how you think he fits in this year. Thanks, man. Go Sox.
Thank you, my friend, Jack from Burlington. I love Christian Campbell. I'm a big fan. What I like about Christian Campbell is that he just has a good head on his shoulders. He's a guy that works hard, got a lot of family support there, man. I'm excited about Christian Campbell. The work ethic, I think, is off the charts. A very motivated guy. Looked good at Fenway Fest, too. I was in the scrum there with the media. He definitely added some size. He looked thicker. He looked just, not that he was in better shape, but he looked more like a guy that could handle a full season a lot better to me. So, and I think he's got the diet in check a little bit. He was talking about that, saying, it wasn't really eating enough during the season. And, and it kind of ended up costing him a little bit. The one thing with him that I think, is cleaning up the mechanics a little bit, simplifying things a little bit, also helping him pull a little bit more, start to use a bit more of all fields. Now, don't completely drop the approach, of being able to go oppo, but you want to be able to have a bit more variety, I think, to, That way you could adjust under different situations, right? So, if they're coming in on you, well, that way you can turn on those and you could hit it out to left field, right? But getting to the question, I'm excited about Christian Campbell. I am. I'm not sure what his role is going to be, but that's what I like about that, is because he can kind of just work on his game and he can just focus on him, and whatever opportunity comes up, he can just go with it, right? Christian Campbell, to me, he's a guy where something that's valuable about him, even though second base was a little up and down this past year, wasn't very good, he has that versatility to be able to play second, to be able to go to the outfield. So if someone goes down, we're talking about how we got 4 outfielders, right? You saw Roman Anthony going down. If you trade either Duran or Wilyer, and then someone else goes down, say Seti. I mean, Seti, that guy's a freak. That guy's just playing every day. I mean, shoot, something gets banged up with him and he's got to go on the IL for a little bit. Well, you got Christian Campbell right there. I think when the opportunity arises, I think that's going to be a good opportunity for him. We'll see. I'm a believer in Christian Campbell. I don't know where he's going to work in. I think that opportunity simply presents itself at some point this year. So we will see. Thank you, Jack, for that question. We got one more here. What do we got here?
I was just thinking that, what are you guys' predictions on who will be the opening day? What will be the opening day outfield for the Red Sox?
All right. So it's a good question. This is a really boring answer. I really don't know. I don't know. I really don't know what to think. I would like to think, I don't want to say I would like to think, but I feel like there's a good chance they end up just sticking with what they got, and if maybe something else comes up at the deadline, maybe you can make a move then. But it just seems like the Red Sox, they're in no rush to make any kind of a move. I think they're just waiting for the right move. We'll see what they do. They clearly need to make a move for the infield. That needs to get done. I think they're just looking for, they're not going to force a trade, right? They're not just going to make something happen just to make it happen, right? So could that involve Duran? Here's the thing. I feel like Duran, I don't know where else he goes unless it's Houston. I mean, if I'm thinking of other, a team that could send back an infielder, right? Obviously, the Cubs, right? But I mean, Duran doesn't fit out there with the Cubs. So you kind of think it's either Houston or bust for Duran at this point, right? I mean, I don't know. I'd have to think about some different possibilities, but if the Astros are really high on Wilyer and they offer something that includes Paredes, that includes one of their setup guys like Brian King or Brian Abreu, with a good upside prospect, and also don't forget about the fact that maybe, the Astros could take on a contract like Jordan Hicks. He is a Texas native. Houston, they've done a great job at getting guys back on track on the pitching side, right? Or getting a bit more out of guys. You take a look at what they did with Yusei Kikuchi, right? I always go back to that example. Look how good he did in the second half. They made one tweak with the pitch mix, had him throwing some more breaking balls, and he was looking good, right? Could they have a plan for someone like Jordan Hicks, who is a Texas native? So you kind of wonder if, could you do something like that? I would hate to use the value of someone like Wilyer or Duran to just shed payroll. But, at this point, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I don't know about Duran getting moved at this point. I don't know. We'll see. But pretty much it's a boring answer. I just don't know. I really don't know who they're going to go with if they do make a move. Maybe recency bias is coming into play, but could it end up being Wilyer? I don't know here. But let's get to the Twitter submissions here. Let's take a look. What do we got here? Honest Wally. I want to talk about this one because I've been seeing a lot of people mention this one. Jeremy Pena trade feels much less far-reached than people think. Boris Client, 2 years left, from New England. Thoughts? I'm going to shoot this down right away. I apologize for doing that. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't see the Astros moving Jeremy Pena. He's their shortstop. You got to think of shortstops. That's like your quarterback. Not obviously catcher, you can make that argument too, but shortstop is right there too. You build your team around a shortstop, right? That's why Carlos Correa is playing third base. I don't see them moving Jeremy Pena at all. He's so good. I know he had a couple of injuries last year, but he is a very productive player. Very good defensively. Showed more with the bat last year. I don't see the Astros moving him. Takes two to tango at the end of the day. The Astros, they're trying to get back into it next year. Trading Jeremy Pena just to get someone like Duran and Abreu, that's like a lateral move, really. Yeah, you got Carlos Correa, and yeah, you could fit Paredes at third base at that point. But does that make you a better team? To me, I think you keep the shortstop that is good on both sides of the ball. That's just me. I would love Jeremy Pena, don't get me wrong, but I don't see the Astros moving him. Philip, kind of same thing here. Jeremy Pena, Duran and Abreu, and Bello for Pena. Again, like I see Pena, I mean, yes, you'd be able to fit Paredes there, but is it making you a better team? Correa, would you rather just have him at third base at this point with the injuries that he's had? That's kind of where I'm at. I don't see Pena getting moved. I would love it if they could do it. I don't buy it. What do we got? Jeffrey, how we doing? Do you think the Red Sox would be better with Suarez and whomever they add as the infielder? Or if they had kept Bregman and done nothing else additionally to the rotation beyond Gray and Oviedo? That's also another caveat to this whole thing. Maybe the Red Sox are holding that leverage there, thinking like, okay, you know what? We would like to have Paredes. We'd like to have someone like Horner, Shaw, cool. I'll mention a couple other possibilities here in a second. Well, actually, I'll wait a second because there's a couple more I'll get to. That's where I wonder if the Red Sox they have Suarez there, and maybe they end up pivoting to him at some point. I don't know. Again, you kind of wonder about the CBT. So if they sign Suarez, you're most likely going over that third CBT. So Suarez would bring power. I mean, yes, he would bring a lot of strikeouts too. It's not my cup of tea. But I see him being like that. They're looking for trades right now, and if none of them work out, then maybe they could pivot. From Jerry Jerminski. If you had to pick between Isaac Paredes, Matt Shaw, and Eugenio Suarez, taking into consideration what each will cost, whether that just be money or minor/major league talent being moved in a trade, who are you taking, and what's a realistic package? For me, Jerry, I mean, it is Paredes for me because I think he's a guy that can give you right around 30 home runs. I think he can give you adequate defense. I'm also intrigued about the possibility of Matt Shaw. I am. I don't know if a trade gets done because he is going to cost a lot. He hit a lot better in the second half last year. Granted, he was up and down. He got sent back down to the minors last year to work on a couple of things. I've also talked to someone behind the scenes in Cubs land. There's been reports about him not being coachable. That's false from what I've been told. I don't know. I think Keith Law put that out there. No, I was told that was false. He was completely okay with going back down to the minor leagues. He made the tweaks that the Cubs wanted him to make, and then he came back up and he was hitting well. So I don't know where that came from. Doesn't sound really accurate to me. He did hit a lot better in the second half. The numbers went back down again a little bit in September. But overall, he looked a lot better, right around an 830 OPS in the second half and a 130 WRC plus. Matt Shaw is intriguing to me. Really reminds me of Pedroia. Like just a hard-nosed player. He's going to be a dog out there. Man, like, he gives me that vibe. I don't want to say, no one's ever going to compare to Pedroia. That's not a fair comparison. But if there's anyone that could, at second base, that could give me that kind of that dirt dog kind of a mentality, I think Shaw is intriguing because you would have him for a long time. And I think he would hit well at Fenway. I don't know. I think Shaw is interesting, but they all come with their own caveats, right? Shaw, obviously, you want to see a bit more floor at this point. Paredes, you wonder defensively. Suarez, a lot of strikeouts, right? I think it's really going to be I would prefer someone that has a bit of pop. Paredes feels like that middle ground to me, where you can kind of get by with the defense. He's going to give you, maybe not Suarez power, but he'll give you decent pop. He's going to give you a lot of good ABs. He feels like that middle ground, and I feel like the Astros and Red Sox, they match up in many different ways. It's kind of where I'm at. Again, though, could you get it done without moving an outfielder? But I don't know if the Astros would want to go for that. We'll see. Nominus Umbra. Why do you think no consideration is being given to moving Duran to second base? They drafted him as a second baseman because he is very athletic. He covers a lot of ground out there in the outfield. He is not moving back to second base. That's over. It's done. Jarren Duran, the second baseman, is never happening ever again. I would rather put him out in center field. He's way better out in center field. Left field, questionable, but second base, no. His athletic ability fits better in the outfield. Ariana, what do we got? With the uptake in talk surrounding the acquisition of a veteran catcher like Vasquez, do you see them doing a Grandal type minor league deal with the major league invite, or a straight signing and entertaining the optioning of Wong? Ariana, thank you. I could see. Listen, I mean, it's been out there. The Red Sox, they are looking for a catcher. They are looking for something. They were involved with JT Realmuto. I don't know. It just never made sense. They were there for Victor Caratini. They were looking for an upgrade at backup, and they're still supposedly looking for guys. I'm going to put this out there. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Jonah Heim get a minor league, deal with like an invite. Wouldn't be surprised about that, because you bring up Grandal. Grandal was older when they brought him in, but Heim, he still has, age on his side. And he was pretty good a few years ago. I feel like he's a guy the Red Sox would try to take a chance on, and they have been adding a lot of catchers. We'll see. Christian Vasquez, I know a lot of people are against the idea. Vasquez with the bat, he's not really going to give you a whole lot. What I like about Vasquez, when healthy, he's going to give you great defense, and he's going to be great with the pitching staff. I like Christian Vasquez a lot. What do we got here? A couple more. Do you think there's a chance Franklin Arias plays a significant role on the big league team this year? I would also like to submit a request for Ginger Snap or me and a Coley Mick collab. I mean, listen, I would love to do a Section 10 collab. I would love if anyone can help get that together. I would love that. But I don't know. Maybe Arias gets in at some point if some injuries happen. He's having a good year. Yeah, I could see. I don't think he plays a significant role, but I could see him if someone goes down. Then you maybe take a chance on him and see what he can do. Interest Kings. I'm too shy, but that sounds fun for others. But Interest Kings, that's okay, because you still got it on tonight's show. But everybody, that is it for the mailbag segment for tonight. We did have a super chat, though. We did have a super chat. Let's put that on the screen. Let's see. What do we got? From Cameron. I really want to see Meyer as the opening day third baseman. I'm fine with WC, Wilson Contreras, Christian Campbell, and Romy. Trevor Story and Meyer. Rotate Roman and JD through DH. Trade later for second base if necessary. You kind of wonder if that's what they end up doing, right? I don't think the Red Sox are going to force a trade. I don't think they're going to trade just to trade. They have good players. They can make it work. At second base, Romy, he's going to go up against the lefties. David Hamilton is not really who you want there. Christian Campbell, it's interesting with him because they seem a bit more open to the idea of him being more of an outfielder moving forward. But could they give him another chance at second base? Maybe. We'll see. I think, could that be an opportunity for Christian Campbell to redeem himself? Maybe. We'll see. Second base is going to be interesting. I do wonder about that. We'll see. Cameron, I appreciate the super chat, my friend. Thank you so much. But everybody, that is all we got here for tonight's show. I appreciate you all stopping by here tonight. I see a lot of familiar faces here in the chat. thank you so much for stopping by. That is it for today's episode. If you can, on the way out, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. If you're listening via podcast, leave us a 5-star review. That definitely helps us out. And everybody, I'm out. If you can on the way out, again, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.